back, everybody. I am a functional nutritionist counselor, and I am here with Suzanne, continuing our conversation. And we were basically talking about how it's very important to really get in a good mindset if you're going through the healing process, because we've noticed there is chronic illness on the rise, and conventional medicine is having a hard time addressing that. Conventional medicine is fantastic if you have a heart attack,
right,
if you break your arm. But in regards to the conventional medicine, it takes time and thoughtfulness, and this is what you dive into,
right,
to help individuals figure that out. And that is the functional approach, because we look at the whole body and we look at all the different parts of it and how it affects the whole. And in last episode, Suzanne was just talking about how the body does not respond or does not understand if we are stressed. Like if you're watching a movie, is the same thing and it's like a scary movie and we're like, oh my gosh, my heart's racing and you get a little sweaty, compared to if a bear was chasing you, right? Your body doesn't understand that.
It doesn't, fear is fear.
Yep.
And so whether it's real or imagined, your body sets off a whole cascade of chemical reactions then that then just feed into that I don't feel well scenario and just propagates, keeps things going. And so we always say a lot of people come into chronic health issues with little t traumas or big T traumas. So little t traumas are just the everyday things.
Oh, little
t, yeah. Little t traumas, those are the everyday things. Those might be the boy that teased you in 5th grade, or it might be the
judgment or the shame that you feel,
right,
or whatever that is.
It could be anything. It could be, somebody cut you off in traffic and you reacted. It's all those things, and they all build up to, build up in your system. So you have this, shell on you. Or big T, some people have horrible childhoods, bad, things that have happened to them. And so we also want to work on, the mental aspect of healing so that we can, because some people can get their 95% with supplements, and they're all great. Supplements and all of the things that treatments and detox therapies and all those kinds of things, everything, whole foods and exercise, movement,
sleep,
meditation, all that kind of stuff. But if they can't let go of some of those past things, then they hardly ever get 100% there. So we always want to focus on how do we heal the brain, how do we heal spiritually, how do we tap into that spiritual aspect in order to be able to get all the way there.
And that's what you did, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so when you figured out you had Lyme disease, you really had to take deep dive, right? You had to face a lot of things.
And healing is so interesting because with chronic illness, it's never us, I think we always want to say that, it's kind of like when you break your leg and they set it and then you go to physical therapy and your healing is pretty much, on a straight line. But when you're working with chronic illness, it's always an up and down battle. It's always you get to the peak and you feel pretty good, and then you're going after something else, and then you go back down again and you're up. So you really, that mental emotional piece, I think, is super important. Having support people in your life who can cheer you on and keep you going, that is what helped me get through a pretty nasty couple of years of detoxing and trying to get things in balance. Now, is the Lyme completely gone? No, but is my immune system better able to handle all of those things? Absolutely. And so, where I was in bed 5 years ago and could hardly
and that's what I wanted to
out
ask.
Of bed.
So when you say nasty, define that a little bit.
So for me, it's different for everybody
Sure.
else. But for me, with the different co-infections that I had a lot of joint pain and inflammation. I had a lot of burning inside my chest, and sinuses, throat, and to the point that
finally, burning in your sinuses.
Burning,
really?
Like my chest would actually be red from the burning on the inside.
Oh my gosh.
Out. And so after seeing doctor upon doctor, I finally found a doctor at Boys Town who typically worked with pediatrics. And just off the cuff, we were talking about one of the treatments that worked with me for a short amount of time with a different doctor. And he's like, we're going to do that. So I literally took, like you would take the Novocaine for a tooth filling, I literally smothered myself in that. So it went up my nose, I drank it, it went on my chest, and when my nerve fibers started to then calm down, and I could continue that healing path then. But he was super smart in identifying, you know, things are on high alert. And then sometimes we do get stuck. We get stuck in this overreactivity, sympathetic, always in that fear state.
And you don't know how to calm down.
And you can't, and your body can't figure out how to turn that switch off so that you can have that rest and relaxed state. Because when you sleep well, then you heal. And
yeah,
so,
I'm a big rest to digest, to heal,
so the
sleeping.
goal, yep. So the goal is to get people in a, however you can do it, get them in a good sleep hygiene state. So for me, clean water, good sleep, those are your first two priorities. So they're kind of the bookends of how you would set
How would
up
you
a
recommend,
protocol.
and I'm a huge proponent, and also try not to eat before, 2-3 hours.
But that doesn't always work for everybody.
No,
Some
it
people
doesn't.
get low blood sugar during the night, and
Yes.
so we always say, well, have a spoon of almond butter or
Yeah.
something.
Something
that's- yeah,
protein
something
small, yeah.
protein, something that's going to take a while for it to
Yes.
digest or stay in your system
Yes.
longer. Great sleep hygiene, especially for, I work with a lot of college athletes. So great sleep hygiene comes with making sure that you're getting 8 hours of at least in bed time, that you go to bed at pretty much the same time, cool environment. I always
Dark.
recommend dark. Air purifiers are really important. Some people like grounding mats because
Explain a grounding mat.
a grounding mat is something, it's kind of like, I don't know if you've watched, Zac Efron even has a Netflix show where he flies around the world with some biohacker who does all kinds of health things. And the first thing they do when they get off an airplane after they've flown 12 hours or whatever is they take their shoes off and they put their feet in the grass. On the ground, wherever they are. And that's called grounding. The earth has what we call frequency. So they try to get their body regulated to whatever that is in
It's
that
a brilliant idea,
point
actually. Yeah.
in earth. And so we all have, everything has a frequency, our bodies have a frequency, our voices all have a unique frequency. It's what I call our personal DNA. No one else has a voice like yours. And so
Nobody has a body like yours.
Nobody has a body
No.
like yours. Nobody, everybody's liver has a frequency, their skin, their everything. So that's how, it's just vibrating molecules, and that's how God made us to stay together. And so, so that's a grounding mat. So grounding mat helps it helps with reducing inflammation. It helps to bring sleep. A lot of people use them when they're working on computers because computers give off an electricity and energy charge. We know they're now telling us don't put your phone up to your ear. You should use the voice thing typically because you don't want that heat and that radiation on your ear. Well, grounding helps to deflect that. So a lot of people work, like my students will work at their desk with the grounding mat on their feet. And that way it keeps the inflammation down. If you go to PubMed, there's all kinds of studies that are out there that can show you even just a few days of grounding can bring the inflammation down.
I can see that because you're calmer.
Right.
Yep. And
Yeah.
that's so.
Right.
So sleep routine. So
Sleep routine,
ground.
there's some great homeopathics that help with that. Melatonin. Not everybody can take melatonin, but small, slow amounts of that, very monitored.
What do you recommend when people wake up and ruminate? Right here. And I figure how I dealt with it, but what do you recommend with that?
What I recommend is I always have people have a journal next to them.
Yep.
And so I always say if there's something on your mind, write it down, whatever it was. And then I always say, you just go back, close your eyes, and do some deep breathing. So box breathing is a super good way to do it.
Box breathing
is you breathe in for 4 counts, you hold for 4 counts, you release your air for 4 counts, and you hold for 4 counts. And that brings the body back into what we call parasympathetic state or calming state, and most people can return back to sleep after that.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of journaling as well, but I also I have a strong faith, and so I give it up to him a lot. And usually I'm like, please, let me
me go to
release
sleep.
this, and I just go back to sleep. So, but it's whatever works for anybody. But I
Yeah.
do know journaling, because the thoughts, the reason why you're ruminating about it is because you can't let go of it.
Right.
And sometimes when you journal it, you can let go of it.
And
so.
for the newer generation, they take their phone. I say, take your phone out. I mean, journaling doesn't work for everybody. So
No.
for the younger people that I work with, I'm like, take your phone out and voice note yourself.
Yes.
And then, erase it in the morning, or, whatever it is. Because sometimes it's just, I can't sleep and I'm so upset
Yeah.
about this. And it's not even anything that they want to remember. So it's like, at least they get that out. And then you're right, the best way is to, be in meditation or prayer, whatever works for you.
And continue,
Go-
because
yeah.
sleep is I think it is the number one healing
Right.
tool that one can have, because
It
that
is.
is our time for our body to settle down
It is.
and help. And because I know when I don't get sleep, I get cranky. And so if I get cranky, I'm going to create negative frequencies into the
yeah.
world that I'm going to get cranky back.
It's like when we don't sleep and we don't eat, we get cranky and hangry.
Yes.
Terrible things.
Yes, terrible things. And you enter in the world and you're going to get that back. So
Yes.
it just creates a tidal web of chaos.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm very strict about my sleep patterns, but
Yeah.
you know what, it works, and it does work.
And in the last couple of years, I tell people, turn the news off.
oh gosh,
Turn the
yeah.
news off. Don't be watching any thrillers before you're going to bed, because we don't want to do anything that spikes that imagination
yeah,
to be
yep.
going, and the cortisol. We want everything to be calm, and if it means a warm bath or Epsom salt bath, or whatever it is that
Essential oils or
Yeah.
whatever that
whatever
is,
it works.
yeah.
And so it takes some trial and error of what works for everybody. Again, everybody's so bio-individual
Yes.
that I always make sure people understand that there is going to be some trial and error. So good communication with a provider, whoever that is super, super important, because if it doesn't work, we need to know, okay, is it not working because we need to pivot, or is it not working? You think it's not working, but it really is, because it's getting out of the system.
Yeah.
And so that's when you have to kind of make a call of where you're going next with
Absolutely.
their protocol.
And I know I had previously talked to you about, you were talking about like emotional release.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to a little bit. I
Okay.
find that fascinating, because I do believe it is a huge proponent of inflammation.
Right.
So talk to that a little bit.
So there are several different really good methods of releasing emotion. And because in Chinese medicine, it's been proven that certain emotions get carried in certain organs, which is really interesting. So like grief is carried in the lungs. Anger is carried in the liver.
Yeah.
So if you have trouble with liver detoxing, or if you have trouble with breathing deeply, or being able to, or have asthma or some of those things, sometimes you have to track back and say, okay, what are some of the emotions that are going on in your life? And so I've been certified through an organization in Houston that is called Heights of Health, and they do mind, body, spirit release. And it's where we actually go through and we check your frequency. So we look at how is your body doing right now, and then we do through muscle testing or through checking in with the client. A lot of times the client will say, I'm having issues with this, or I'm working with an upcoming client whose husband's deployed. She's managing all of the household things. They've just moved 6 times. All these things. She's like, I need some help processing all of this. And so then we go and we find out what are the key emotions. And some of them are from way back when, that they've been stored in the file cabinets way far away, that you think that you've gotten rid of or that you don't think about anymore. But it's really interesting how the body
wants to release it
and is ready to release it. And so that is more of a long-term, usually work with clients 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer if they feel like it's, if we're making a lot of progress that way. A lot of times you can reduce food sensitivities that way as well. Bradley Nelson has written an amazing book where you can learn how to do it yourself. It's called Emotion Code and Body Code. And so you actually can go through, he's got charts, and you can actually go through and you can identify what the emotions are, and then he has different techniques of how to release those, and you can find out if they're generational things or if they are things that you have taken on yourself. Because There have also been some PubMed studies done on like Holocaust survivors and how actual DNA has changed.
I've read that,
because of the fear or the things that have happened to them.
The intensity of the trauma.
During that whole traumatic era.
Yeah, I've actually read that study, and it is fascinating, but it does show that, I mean, to heal, it's a journey, and it really takes time.
It does
right?
take time.
So, I mean, like you said, it took you a couple years to kind of find a plateau? Or?
Yeah, so I am about, I guess I'm about almost this February it'll be 3 years into healing. And I will say that, you know, I still have some ups and downs, more ups than downs, but I think that you just keep going with the next thing and the next thing, and you just, you know, you always know that there's hope out there. And if you can help one person who is, I always say my client is who I was 2 years ago when I started. Because at that point in time, I was pretty hopeless. I didn't know where to turn. I'd never heard of functional medicine. I'd never heard of, you know, the person who helped me was actually a NTP, or, you know, like what I think you are. And she had trained with a functional doctor, and she had started a group program for just women. And she had never taken anyone my age before. Everybody was always in their 30s or 40s. You don't realize there are that many chronically ill people out there that are young. Mm-hmm. And then you look back at things like, well, where did they go to school? Well, they went to school and back east. The dorms are really old, moldy. Mold illness is now coming to the surface as something that people are studying more about. And so that is where I got a good basic platform.
Did you just run into this person, or
I found her on? I will say I think it was a divine. Prayer's a huge part of my life, and so I found her on Instagram one day. I started to follow how she analyzed blood work, how she worked with people, and I just applied one day. And the story is crazy because it was kind of an expensive program. It was more than I wanted to put out for something that was, to me, unproven. I wasn't sure. This was my first step into...
You were like, okay, is this like a sketchy thing?
This is my first step into holistic care. And so I signed up. They accepted me. And I talked to my husband about it. I said, I just don't know. And he says, well, then don't do it. And so I emailed them back and I said, you know, I'm not going to do this. And then I said, I really feel like, you know, it's a lot of money for me to put out right now to be on this path. But then after I did that, I had such a heaviness. I cried all night long.
Aww.
And I said to my husband, I feel like this is my beginning. This is where I really need to be. And he said, well, go see if your spot's available. So immediately in the morning, I emailed Emily and Allie, and I just said, you know, I really think I'm supposed to be there. Have you already given away my spot? And they emailed me right back and they said, you were supposed to be here.
Oh, and it's life-changing for you.
Yeah.
And that's what you just kind of stepped in and you started healing, and you took a leap of faith.
Right.
Did you feel like that's because your value, because you're like, I'm going to put value on myself?
Right, I did. I finally said, I'm worth getting better.
Yes.
If I don't get better, who's going to take care of my family? Who's going to, you know, be there for the weddings and I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, it's emotional. Absolutely.
Yes.
Healing is a very emotional journey.
It's been a journey.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is that you come to that point of acceptance of you and that self-worth and value. And it's like, I am worth this money.
Right.
I am worth this.
And I threw everything into it. And, you know, now they're some of my dearest friends. I will say that when you get sick, and I feel for people who have chronic illness so much, because people leave you behind because you can't make those coffee dates and those dinner dates and all of those things. You back out at the last minute and people don't understand. And that's so hard. So I think a lot of times when I work with emotional work, then, you know, I've been through some of those really painful things. And so I know people come to me, number one, because I'm older, I think, and I have hopefully a little more wisdom that comes with that than some of the young gals who are just starting off, but I've been there and I've walked that road, and it's
you can empathize.
It's challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you are definitely a gift.
Thank you.
You are definitely a gift, and we are so appreciative, and you are so beautiful. Thank you for your rawness and your honesty. I think is great. I think a lot of people will relate because they are walking in the footsteps, and I know there's a lot of shame and vulnerabilities, and like you said, I have to cancel because I don't feel well, and then they feel judged, and so I just think that just to stand up in that is so beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For doing that. So Suzanne is an amazing holistic practitioner.
Thank you.
So if you're not feeling very well, definitely plug in, and appreciate everything, and we'll be back soon.
Did you know there's a link between diabetes and cardiovascular disease? If you have diabetes, you're more likely to have risk factors associated with cardiovascular disease, including obesity and high blood pressure. Take steps today to reduce your risk for cardiovascular disease, manage your A1C, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels, develop or maintain healthy lifestyle habits, and learn ways to manage stress. Take medicines as prescribed by your doctor. Stop smoking or using other tobacco products. Take diabetes to heart. Visit niddk.nih.gov to learn more.
Where can you watch KPAO Community Television? You know, the channel with all of the local shows. If you live in the Omaha area, Cox Channel 22 HD is your place. If you prefer streaming, go to kpaoTVOmaha.org. And now, if you have the Apple TV box, grab our app and watch us there. KPAO on cable, streaming live, and now on Apple TV.
Prediabetes is a serious health condition where blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not yet high enough to be diagnosed as type 2 diabetes. More than 1 in 3 U.S. adults have prediabetes, but most don't know they have it, and there are usually no symptoms. Making healthy lifestyle changes can make a difference. You can prevent or delay type 2 diabetes, and you can even manage or reverse your prediabetes. Visit niddk.nih.gov to learn more.
KPAO Community Television. It has something new.
Okay, let's talk. What are we making today? Because we're using peppers.
All of your favorite shows
For the dish, I'm Pam Weeks.
are available no matter where you are.
And Marjorie, it's so good to see you.
KPAO on the go. Go to kpaoTVOmaha.org. All of your favorites now streaming.
Hi everybody, my name is Susan and I'm with Ahava FN and I am your functional nutritionist. And this is another episode of Sensible Substitution. And basically our mission is to let you understand on how to make healthier choices with baby steps so you can live that vibrant lifestyle that you're looking for. Unfortunately, 6 out of 10 people in the United States have a chronic condition. 4 out of 10 people have 2 chronic conditions. And the leading chronic condition in Omaha, Nebraska is cardiovascular disease. And even though we may not be able to get rid of the disease completely, we can definitely lessen it through our lifestyle choices and through what we eat. And so that is why I'm here to tell you on how to substitute with sensible food choices. And today I'm going to talk about the emergency food pack. Like always, we are always on the run. We've got kids to take care of, or we're traveling, and if we're hungry, we are going to stop and we're going to eat not good food. We'll go through a drive-through or go through a convenience store, and that is not good for your body. What we want to do is we want to heal your body, so we have to prepare to heal that in emergency situations like that. And if you have asthma, you're going to be bringing your inhaler with you. Or if you have an allergy, you're going to be bringing your EpiPen with you. So this is why we need to have an emergency food pack that you need to carry with you at all times, just in case you can't get something good and nutritious in your body. So what I'm going to do is just some simple substitutes to put into this emergency pack that you just carry with you. It is preparing for it, so if you have a day off, maybe you kind of decide to look at your week and see what that looks like. And this is what I do for an emergency life pack on how as I travel around and not having time to have a good healthy meal, this is what I do. I have grass-fed beef sticks. You can get those at Costco. It's great. I have almond butter, these little packages of almond butter. They are just a fantastic way. You just rip it open and then you can just put it in your mouth. I've got chia seeds. Chia seeds are great because you can just dump them in a water, let them soak for a little bit, and they're a great source of fiber and a good source of fat, and then you just drink it. Some people like it, some people don't, but I love it. It fills me up and it takes that craving away. You can do tuna packets, great protein. They've got mini cucumbers, another great buy at Costco, easy to put in a Ziploc bag. You can have hard-boiled eggs. You can have strawberries. Mixed nuts is another wonderful thing. In fact, you could just take a big Ziploc bag and throw it in your car, so if you are traveling around, you have something to snack on. You've got blackberries, and something that I like to do sometimes to prepare is that I will soak my garbanzo beans overnight, and then I'll throw olive oil in them, throw some avocado on top of it with salt and pepper and a little bit of lemon, and it is so good, and I put it in the to-go, and now I've got something fresh that you can eat. So all I'm saying is that we need to put our bodies as a priority to step into that healthy lifestyle choices. There's a lot of foods that we can choose from. Just put them in your backpack or another bag, just carry it with you. So if you do get hungry or if you don't have time to have that healthy nutritional meal, you've got something to help you get by. So let's start today. Let's, on your day off, kind of evaluate your week, see what it looks like, and then fill an emergency pack with all the good foods to eat and make sure that you carry it and grab it with you. So let's step into that healthy space with just baby steps.